Does anyone know the name of this week's Torah portion? Lekh-Lekha. Very good, Eva. And I know a couple other people as well had the answer. Good. And what does Lekh-Lekha mean? Go to yourself, go. And who is told to go? Avram. Some of you said Abraham, but extra credit for Avram because he's not yet Avraham yet. What do we know about Avram? A couple things about Avram. Pretty famous person in world history. Yes? He's the father of Jewish people, monotheism. Yep, Neil? He broke the mold. Very good. Anyone else? I heard something over here. He broke the mold, then the idols. Okay, nice. An iconoclast. That was one of my favorite moments of being a Jewish adolescent studying from SATs. Is when I had to study that word iconoclast, explains someone who breaks previous idols, Abraham, and I felt very validated in having a Jewish education at that moment. I saw someone else's hand. Oh yeah, Marge. He made a choice to leave everything that he knew. Follow something else. Thank you, Kim. He was born in Ur. Yeah, He was hospitable. He was known for welcoming in guests. Yes, great. He was successful. Yes. Avram, and later Abraham. Yes, all of those things. He was the father of monotheism. He was an iconoclast. He was hospitable. He was kind. All of these things. Yes, and yes. But Avram also leaves behind his family. Who is Avram's father? Terach. What do we know about Terach? He owned an idol store. Okay. Relative to Avram, do we know much? Not as much, right? We have like a number of texts of chapters and Parasha of Avram and Abraham. Just a few paragraphs about Terach. Okay. Anything else? I ask this question because I was reading a former teacher of mine when I was in rabbinical school, Dr. Eliezer Diamond. And he said something very powerful. He says, in the going, there is always leaving. And we always lean into, on this week's Torah portion, the going, that Abraham is told, Lekh-Lekha. Off he goes with a fresh start. Off he goes to receive blessing and all the wonderful things that await him. And we don't talk about what just took place at the end of last week's Torah portion. What is it that Avram leaves behind? And at first glance, we look at Avram's past as the foil to his present and future. Avram's father, we all shared, was an idol maker. And the story goes, by the way, not in the Torah portion, but this is a rabbinic midrash. The rabbis add this in, perhaps to highlight the foil they wanted to make of his father, that he had an idol factory, he had an idol store. Avram destroys all the idols, thus to show his father's stupidity of like, how could you be an idol maker when there's obviously only one God? That's the rabbinic midrash on Terach. When we look into the text also is a tough story about Terach. Terach is the one, by the way, who leaves home. And before he leaves home, he loses his son, Haran. And Terach makes sure, though, that when they leave, the whole family comes together. And then he stops. Terach stops in a town called Haran. Perhaps there was some type of aspect of that city that reminded him of his past. And Terach freezes. So Terach is an idolater. Terach is someone who perhaps is overwhelmed by grief as opposed to life. And third, Terach gets stuck. He can't move forward compared to Avraham in this week's Torah portion of Lekh-Lekha. So at first glance, we look at Terach in a very negative light, and our tradition frames it at first glance that way. And yet, when we look at other aspects of our Torah and rabbinic tradition, we can see some different aspects of Terach. And I think that's important. Because as all of us know, one of the guiding principles of us as an ethical people, we follow the Ten Commandments, and central to the Ten Commandments is honoring thy mother and thy father, treating them with the amount of kavod and honor. So how could it be that the founder of monotheism treats or portrays his father in this way? And thus we see a number of interesting anecdotes. Number one, when we look into the text, where was it that Terach wanted to go when he left his hometown of Ur? It was he who wanted to take his family to Canaan. He is the one who had the vision of Israel. He is the one who planted the seed in his son for, as we say today, Zionism. 2, at the end of this long journey, if the whole point is to get our people into the land of Israel and settled, flip the book, go all the way to the back, the 5 books of Moses. We enter the land of Israel. Our first leader is Joshua. And at the end of Joshua's journey, as he's imparting his wisdom on to the next priests and judges who are going to take his place, he says, don't forget, we come from an idolater. And we think that he might be speaking negatively about Avram's father. But isn't it amazing that such a negative story was not forgotten, and it was passed on from generation to generation to generation, that Terach carries weight in the Jewish narrative that is passed on? And third, we all know this because, most of us know this because on the holiday of Passover, what Seder is not complete unless we talk about how our father, our father was a wandering Aramean, which some believe was a reference to Terach. So in this time where we are retelling our story, we don't forget the fact of where we came from. Terach carries weight. And I think it's important that we pay attention to this aspect of Jewish tradition and our text, because when we think about what is our current relationship with the past, and how does our portrayal of future correspond to how we understand our past, it's very easy at moments for us to see them as in conflict. That we must make tough decisions today so that our future can be better and distance from our past. Or we must make tough choices today because our future risks damaging our past. And maybe there's a different way of looking at this relationship of future and past, or in other words, of Avram and his father Terach. And I just want to suggest a couple of things. Instead of looking at Terach negatively, perhaps we could see him as planting the seeds of creating the foundation from which that creates the person that Avram becomes. We mentioned that Terach was an idolater. That was how he was portrayed. But perhaps there is some potential in someone who chose a life of idolatry compared to having no idols at all. And I'm not a big fan of idolatry, but I'm aware that there could be some redemptive pieces to it. This idea that there was some force greater than our human selves. Encourage the individual to live with a sense of humility. One of the seeds of faith, of monotheism, is that we carry with us the trait of humility. Perhaps we got that from Terach. Terach was overcome in grief because he lost his son. He was sad. And yes, Avram represents moving forward. Let's move forward towards life. And as the Jewish people, we celebrate life. But there is something redemptive that can be learned through sadness. It's perhaps a focusing on the relationships that we have. That for Terach, he couldn't ignore the relationship he had with his son, that it mattered to him, and that he carried that within him. And when we look at the life that Avram lived, for Avram it was very clear relationships mattered. One of the most amazing things about Avram is that in the end of last week's Torah portion, we learned that his wife Sarai is barren. She is not going to have children. And Avram says, okay, I'm staying with her because my relationship with her matters much more than any relationship any potential I could have in the future. God blesses Abram. You're going to have many children. And he knows his wife Sarai. He never lets her go. And that perhaps is one example of Avram in his entire life of how people and relationships matter to him. One of the power of what it means to be Jewish is that we live in relationship with one another. We are drawn closer to God when we are in the presence of minyan. Blessing each other, having Friday night dinner around the table with our loved ones is central to who we are, and thus the laws of life cycles and mourning are all part of who we are because relationships matter. And maybe we got that from Terach. Third, Terach gets stuck. He's on his way to Canaan and he just stops halfway, and it is Avram is the one who completes the journey. So what can be gained by this idea of getting stuck? And of course, we all get stuck once a week on Shabbat when we just stop from the world of growth and creation and we just sit and reflect on the blessings that we have and who we are. Maybe that was what Terach was doing. And of course, we all know that for the Jewish people, Sunday arrives, or if you're from a different faith or the Christian faith, Monday arrives, and we know that life continues and we've got to get back to life. And unfortunately, Terach didn't get that piece. But it is still so important, though, to take that original moment to just pause. And we know that when we pause and reflect, we have the potential to become better people and approach the next week with renewed strength. That idea of a pause perhaps could be traced to Terach himself. You know, one of the blessings of being Jewish is that we have the potential of looking at Abraham and saying, that's me. I'm the person who is blessed, and that is true. I'm the person that is filled with potential. I'm the person that is going to make tomorrow better. And I think that is all wonderful and true. And yet, there also is a part of Avram that is his father, Terach. There is a part of our present and our future that is sacredly linked to our past. And there is part of what we do today that creates a building block for the world we're going to live in tomorrow. When we can see Avram and Terach as their sacred relationship of foundation, values, and then allowing those values to turn into a new world tomorrow, even though they might look different, perhaps then we can not only redeem Terach, but we can live in a world with more balance, shalom, and peace. Shabbat shalom.